Hi, I'm Brian Dunn, and welcome to the most important podcast ever. What makes it so important? It's not about me, it's about you. This podcast is about ordinary people doing extraordinary things, the moments of resilience, the lessons learned, and the small acts that made a big difference. From retail floors to boardrooms, we'll share the untold stories that shape lives and careers. This week, our guest is Seamus Harvey. I'm very excited to have Seamus here. Seamus is, there's no other way to put it. He's a viral sensation right now. He's achieved over 50 million views on his marketing videos, and we're thrilled to have you here. Seamus, can I get you to introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Brian, for that lovely introduction. I'm Seamus Harvey. I I am the head of marketing and media at Verso Jobs. And he put it very plainly. I've recently struck upon some very interesting virality. So I'm glad to dive into it a little bit more and talk about what I'm doing.
We are so excited to have you here, and we're so excited to learn from you, Seamus, because it's so interesting. The notion of going viral, it's like aspirational for everybody. And you have put out content that I have watched once, twice, 3 times because it's funny, it's on the mark, it rings true, and it also makes you look in the mirror because it's sort of universal. Is that your job description? Manager of virality?
Pretty
much. Is that
much.
A word? Is that a word?
Virality is a word. It is.
Okay.
I try not to use it because it kind of sounds like a corporate buzzword, which
it's so hard to say, and it is corporate bullshit bingo for sure.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that. But when they brought me on at Verso early January, they had basically asked me to help them go viral. That was the extent of it. They didn't put any super rigid parameters or creative guidelines around it. They just said, make us go viral, see if you can do that, and we'll figure it out from there. So
you were basically hired to create a buzz. I'm going to give you my corporate bullshit bingo. You were hired to create a buzz around the brand.
Exactly. Yeah. I had gone viral a few times before. I guess that was good enough for them to make a bet on me and take a risk on me. But yeah, they basically gave me free creative reign to do whatever I saw fit to take them viral. I got to make tons of funny skits that for a while, about the first month, kind of fell flat. We were in Struggleville for a bit, getting, maybe 100 views here and there. Skits that I thought were really funny, that the team thought were really funny, but they didn't get anywhere. And then all of a sudden I kind of stumbled upon this new format that I'm doing now, and it blew up overnight. It was pretty bizarre.
Can you share with the audience that format? Talk us through it a little bit, because it's nothing short of brilliant.
Well, thank you. So it's pretty straightforward, but it's a typical Zoom call format. So I have, anywhere 4 to 6 heads of corporate guys, and I use filters, facial filters, and my ability to use different voices to create these characters. And these corporate characters are speaking in a language that we know as corporate jargon. It's a fake language filled with a bunch of nonsense filler words that are meant to make things sound important and intelligent. And that's what these guys do. They think what they're saying is extremely important, extremely groundbreaking, and they're saying nothing. The first one that went viral was them talking about how February is a short month, and that's going to impact business because there's 2 less days for productivity. And that took off, and we did almost a whole month of content about February, and people loved it. So that's kind of the gist of it.
And it's the corporate executives talking to they're Gen Z characters, right?
So there's one Gen Z character,
Okay, my bad.
Braxton. Bra- very fitting Gen Z name. Braxton entered the scene maybe about a month in, but for a while it was these same 4 or 6 guys, older corporate guys, late millennial to boomer age range.
Gotcha.
And yeah, they're using this lingo that I think a lot of people have realized is so overused, and they've realized that they kind of detest it, but they also like to laugh at it. So I think it resonated in that way.
I think it resonates because we've all been witness to it, and maybe some of us have been guilty of it.
Yeah,
And
I have.
yeah, me too, man. I think I've been all the different characters as I was coming up the ranks in my career. I would leave the meeting saying, "What exactly got done there?" And then when I was running the meetings, I'd say, "What got done there? Nothing." And it's just so interesting. Where do you think that culturally comes from?
I think, well, part of it is, I think when you're in a work environment, ultimately you always have something at stake. You're always, at the end of the day, you're at risk of losing your job. Is that realistically a grave risk every day? Probably not. But you never know what might make you lose your job. So in order to kind of fit in and appease people and be friendly and unoffensive, we end up using these phrases that help us kind of put up a shield from what we really think and what we really want to say, and prevent us from perhaps being confrontational with other people and upsetting other people. So we say these things that kind of don't really make sense, and they're completely unnecessary. They're just filler, and it helps us get by and kind of cope in that ecosystem.
I think they're like conversational prophylactics. I think they're just, I'm going to say I agree and I get it, but really, do I? I
Yeah.
don't know. I think there's such a universality to it that I think that you really caught on to something big there, Seamus.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
I don't mean to make it sound like it's a fluke, because it's not. But all the years I've known you, you're smart, you're funny, always been funny. I always thought you had a future in that, and now in fact you do. Um, but you've stumbled on something that resonates with people, and part of that is the hatred we all have for Zoom meetings that came through the COVID era. Don't you think?
100%. 100%. I think I think at this point, the Zoom format of these meetings is much more relatable, much more universal to people than if I had filmed these in perhaps, a room like this,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
I'm sitting in a conference room, because we don't really do those anymore. It's Zoom meetings. Everyone's working remote, and in a Zoom meeting, there's even more of a kind of protective shield, I think, where, because you are detached, you're online, you're far away, you're on a screen, and people might feel a little bit more empowered to use these filler words, sound a little smarter, make what they're saying sound a little more important,
Right,
and shy away from perhaps disagreeing with anybody.
right. Because if you disagree with somebody, it could be trouble, as you said earlier. It could also extend the meeting, and who needs that?
Oh,
Right.
exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
and so, are you saying that executives today are completely out of touch?
I'm not saying that. And I want to be clear about that too. This is not necessarily a condemnation on all corporate executives. I don't think they're all full of it. I don't think, working a corporate job is a bad thing. It's definitely not. Um, but I think I I just like comedy and I like making people laugh. And I treat it from that lens. That's where I'm coming at it with is how can I take this thing that people relate with, that people find funny and they like to caricaturize, and how can I just make that funny and make them laugh and deliver it in a way that resonates and just is relatable to them.
When you find yourself in different interactions with people or meetings, or do you think to yourself, ooh, that's something I'll be able to use?
I have. So weirdly, I have since moving into a startup, we don't really do this thing. We don't do the corporate thing. We don't have meetings. We don't use these buzzwords. We're all 20 something year olds. We have no idea what we're doing. We're building this thing from the ground up. We just talk normally, like you and I are talking now. We don't do
Right.
this jargon stuff. So, when someone accidentally slips in a buzzword, and I still do it from time to time, it's like, oh, Johnny Brask and I will catch each other on it all the time. When I say, yeah, from a something perspective, I'm like, oh no, I just did it. It's hard to avoid. But I mean, certainly I got a lot of inspiration from working in a semi-corporate environment for a few years. That's where kind of the inspiration comes from. But yeah, I just kind of took the small seed of what I knew and then just kind of blew the satire and the ridiculousness up to 100 and just kind of ran with it.
Well, it's clearly right in your power zone. Maybe this is a good time for us to take a minute and talk about what Verso Jobs is and what it does.
Yeah, for sure. So we are a recruiting platform for startups. So we source talent for startups across the country, mostly people in tech. So we work with getting a lot of jobs for software engineers, back-end developers, and we are a platform that makes it a lot easier for people to source and vet talent. So we have a proprietary tech behind it that we have built and we use to make this job application process hopefully a lot less hellish for people, because applying for jobs stinks and hiring is tough too. So we're just trying to make that whole process easier. We really want to revolutionize the job market and bring it up to the times of today.
I think that is such a noble endeavor. I mentor a lot of people, and one of the common complaints I hear is I apply for a job on one of the platforms, you know the names of the big platforms, and I never hear back from anybody.
Yeah.
Somewhere in some room, AI has done its thing and kicked me to the dust pile of the ghost land.
Totally.
What has this amazing response to your videos? I presume you're getting a lot of DMs and messages and commentary from people. I know you are, because I've seen what you allow to be seen. And what has it taught you about how people feel at work these days?
I think people are unfortunately pretty unhappy at work these days. Uh, Unemployment is very high. And part of that is people don't want to go into a traditional corporate job like this, because people are starting to wake up to a lot of the downsides of it. And again, there's nothing wrong with working a corporate job. They
Yep,
have lifted, billions of people out of poverty across the world.
of
There's
course.
nothing, an office job is not something to be ashamed of, but these jobs are not for everybody. And people are waking up to, I think, the kind of facade that can happen in the corporate lifestyle of, being a little bit phony, of, faking how much work you're doing. People get their work done in 4 hours, and the rest of the day they kind of sit at their desk and putz around and play pretend so they can, look busy. There's a lot of stuff like that where people are disengaged with their work, and they I think have a distaste for some of the theatrics that go on, some of the theatrics that I make jokes about. And ultimately they're unhappy with their work, unfortunately. So that's ultimately the grand scale problem we're trying to solve is how do we get people in places where they're excited by their work and they're happy to go to work and what they do really energizes them. And I think a lot of that comes in small teams like the startups we work for.
Yeah, I think that's a very exciting thing that's happening in our economy right now. That trend is a tidal wave in our economy. And it used to be when I was growing up, you find a company and you put your 30 in and you're on the grind um and I loved what I did. So don't read into that I didn't. I loved and I'm grateful for everything I did. But I think it's a very exciting time where employees are making a choice for who they want to be, how they want to be, and the person they are at work and the person they are at home is kind of the same person.
Hmm.
And I think that um, the other thing I'm acutely aware of, and I'm sure it's because of the white hair, there's nothing more precious than time. And all those unnecessary things being said and the meetings built around them are a waste of your time.
Mm.
And I think people are fed up with that.
Yeah.
And I think I think we got to solve Zoom, man. We got to solve Zoom so Zoom doesn't get co-opted. Do you think the remote work dynamic that came post-COVID, do you think that's become important to employees?
I think across the board, it probably has. I think a lot of people favor remote work, probably for some of the reasons we've talked about of not feeling like you have to go into an office and put on a mask and be someone else. They like being in a space that's comfortable to them. They have a little more freedom. They can make fresh meals and go for walks, whatever. Um, and maybe not have to deal with some people that they don't particularly love in person
Mhm.
and kind of keep a distance that way. There's yeah, I think that's a bulk of where people find value in work from home. Um, I personally, I love working in office. I love the social aspect and being able to solve problems in person just fast like that. That's kind of my thing. But some people they love remote, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think it's hard for me to imagine. I wouldn't be happy in a fully remote workplace. I think a hybrid model for me would work nicely.
Hmm.
I'm all about results oriented work. I mean, tell me what you want done and I'll get it done for you. And
Yeah,
if you're not satisfied with how I got it done, tell me. Don't tell me how to do it and don't tell me how much time to spend doing
yeah,
it. Right?
exactly.
I mean, it's um, do you think it's taking hold in the workplace, or do you think it's like a groundswell from the ground up? See, I think the sharp executives out there understand it and
Mm.
are embracing it.
They understand the remote structure.
Not just the remote thing. The remote is like um, it's like a symptom of this new independent worker, this worker that wants to be treated and respected intellectually and doesn't want all the corporate bullshit bingo.
Hmm.
Maybe
I
I'm,
think there's 100% a lot of truth to that. And when I first transitioned out of traditional corporate structure, I was going in the office 5 days a week. When I first transitioned out of that and was working from home for a little over a year, it was so refreshing to me. I was like, oh my gosh, I could never go back into an office again where I have to use these. Well, I don't have to, but I find myself using these useless words and talking like I'm somebody that I'm not. That was so refreshing to me. And then it got to a point where it was a little isolating. I'm a very social person. I thrive being around people, and it got a little isolating. And being back in an office setting for the past few months with a team, a small, tight knit team, has been a lot of fun, a lot of fun. So that I totally sympathize with the pros and cons of each.
Yeah. I think there's no substitute for having a team that's focused on a clear mission. And I think that is, I think back in my careers, those were the best days of it, when we were all focused on whether it was a specific competitor or a marketplace objective. Those were highly energizing days. We all thought we were part of something really big, and we were.
Yeah.
Do you think, it's people love to say it's a generational different, your generation values or sees things differently. Do you think that's part of this?
Perhaps. Yeah. I think, well, so my generation, we mumble, we use as little words as possible. We like, we, we talk like kind of idiots. We don't sound like the smartest people. I think think people are a little bit put off when they maybe go into the company all hands and there's these boomer corporate executives speaking in a completely different tone and seemingly using a different language. I think people of my generation are a little off put by that. They don't want to engage in that. Obviously,
Yeah.
to survive in that environment, you find yourself engaging in it sometimes, but I think that the generational gap is a factor for sure.
And what do you think? Where do you think things are headed, Seamus? I mean, if you look out 5 years, do you see the workplaces changing dynamically? That was a bullshit word. Do you think, do you see, because of course change is dynamic. See,
Change is always dynamic, isn't it?
I feel like such a horse's ass.
Uh,
It's so easy to fall into it. But do you think these changes are permanent?
I think not only they're permanent, I think it will keep trending in the direction it's going. With, I mean, a lot of the remote workers working right now are sadly going to be mostly replaced by AI anyway. So, what good is it to bring a bunch of people into an office when your workforce is cut in half? Like, we're seeing these massive companies slash their workforce by the 50,000 plus to lean out and leverage AI. Leverage, there's a buzzword for you.
Right. Right.
But office buildings are getting torn down, data centers are getting built, and they're kind of starting to replace each other. So I think, if anything, what we have right now, where work from home is so popular, I think that's going to keep trending in a direction that's it's already going.
It was a trick question because actually, of course, it's always going to change. This
Yeah.
is the natural order of things.
It
Your
is.
generation should be changing things to what it sees, just like the generation behind you will do that, and the generation behind that. Otherwise, we atrophy and die. I mean,
Absolutely.
that we become completely irrelevant. Um, boy, that all of a sudden it's super grim. I also, and it's a different discussion, and I hope you'll come back and be a recurring guest. I think that AI isn't the end of the world. We just have to figure out, if we stay locked into just doing today's work, it is, because it'll do it more efficiently. But we need to find new things for it to do. And I think it becomes a moral imperative for leadership to find ways to use AI to grow.
Totally.
Moral imperative, also corporate bullshit bingo, but I actually really believe it. So
I would give you a pass there. I think moral imperative is fine. I think that aptly sums up what you're trying to say too. But yeah, and funny enough, one of the kind of running jokes I'm developing out is this company of corporate guys, the older fellas, the boomers, they are like allergic to using AI. That's one thing I'm playing into with these corporate guys. Obviously, that's not true across the board. I think people are realizing they need to lean into AI and leverage as much as they can. But yeah, like you said, it's right now it's imperative in the interest of whatever company you're running. If you're a leader, you got to be looking this way because you'll fall behind.
Absolutely. And AI can reduce the barriers to entry. It can reduce and allow you to compete in places you couldn't even imagine. And here's what I always tell people that lament to me that AI is the end of the world. And what are you personally doing with AI every day? I think everybody on the planet that can reach it should be playing with it for 15 or 20 minutes. Grannies should be reaching with it and playing with it for 15 to 20 minutes to understand what in fact it is and what it can do for us in our personal lives as well.
Totally, totally. And one thing I think people are afraid of is it's like any tool. What happens with tools is when they get abused, you kind of ruin the tool for everyone else who is using it responsibly. And AI has been abused. There's
No doubt.
our Facebook feeds and are full of AI slop stuff that looks real. People are using AI to scam people out of money. It's absolutely been abused, like every tool that's ever existed. But what happens is that ruins it for the people that could be using it for good. And people who are using it for good are maybe labeled unfairly as you're using that AI slop, you know?
I love animals and wildlife. And my feed is currently in bison. I'm semi-obsessed with bison. And my AI feed is currently overrun with videos of people that call a bison over and it comes over and it cuddles them and nuzzles them and stuff. And you know it's AI generated. But I'm like, damn, I want to get me one of them bison.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of it is genuinely hilarious. And some of it too clearly requires an intelligent and creative and funny person behind it using the tool to produce.
Absolutely.
Like one of
Absolutely.
my favorite series is it's this Jamaican monkey called Ja Monkey. And he goes on these crazy adventures. It started during the hurricane in Jamaica. He's like, "Wagwan, me people, Ja Monkey. I'm out here with my donkey trying to survive the storm." And he's like live streaming with a GoPro his adventures in the hurricane and speaking Jamaican. And these are like hysterical. And I watch all of them. I'm not gonna lie, I eat it up. It's funny.
Oh, I I do too. Not that I haven't seen that one, but I will check it out tonight for sure. Seamus, our time is flying by. I want to ask you a question. I love to ask people here. Are there influences, mentors, or experiences that have shaped your thinking that stand out in your mind? Or maybe lessons learned through challenge or unexpected moments?
One that shaped me a lot was actually getting let go from my corporate job a few years ago. That shaped me a lot. I had to use a corporate word. I had to pivot fast.
And in a big effing hurry.
Yeah, no kidding. And I started working for myself as an independent contractor. I worked with Johnny Brass through his agency doing cold calls for tech companies. And I started working with my buddy Aiden at his ad agency doing memes and skits for tech companies, totally working for myself. And then I started a fitness coaching brand by myself and was posting every day on my channel for that. And that experience just taught me a ton about taking risks, but not only that, realizing that this fear and this worry that you build up in your head is really just nothing. It means nothing. Like we suffer so much more in our imagination than we do in real life. You know, you have all these worries about oh, well, will I be okay working for myself? Will this work out? Will people like this content, or will this flop? You got to just put it out, detach from the outcome, and just be open to learning, learn from the experience and build off it. So
I I read a number of books about some of the special forces guys, and one of them wrote that courage, bravery, isn't the absence of fear; it's keeping moving, even though you have some
in the
fear or
face of
some
it.
anxiety. You keep moving, because the one
Mhm.
thing we know for sure is if you don't, you're dead.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
No kidding.
I,
Yeah,
I,
fear is normal, and it's something we all feel and part of the human experience, but
and
you
it
got to
serves a
just keep moving.
purpose, Seamus. Fear serves a purpose.
It does.
It stimulates and moves us to action.
It absolutely does. And it signals too that a lot of times that we care. If you didn't care about something, the outcome of something, you probably wouldn't have any fear or any emotion attached to it, but you do care. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for your time tonight. I really appreciate it. And I want to ask you right here in front of all our friends, I really hope you'll come back. I'd love to check in with you from time to time, see how things are going, talk about your latest videos, and get your perspective on some things. I think that would be a lot of fun.
I'd be happy to anytime. I mean that. And thank you for having me this first go around. It was a blast. So
Well,
I appreciate it.
thank you so much, Seamus. And I love you, man. It's great to see
Love you.
you.
Thank you. Be well.
So that's it for this episode of the most important podcast ever. A big thanks to my friend Seamus Harvey for sharing parts of his story, and an even bigger thanks to you for tuning in and watching. If you enjoyed this conversation, share it with someone who might find it meaningful. You can watch and listen on our YouTube channel and wherever you get your social media and podcasts, not wherever you get your social media, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on social media. And I want to thank my friends at Streetside Studio 7 for their very able assistance. This show doesn't happen without them. And I want to thank our hosts at Deja Blue House of Coffee. And again, I want to thank my buddy Seamus Harvey. And we're going to link some of his work on this episode when it drops next Tuesday. And check it out because it's well worth the time. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.